These women are completely out of touch with reality. And you're right, ABC should wake up.
Chaos erupted on The View as Karoline Leavitt dropped a shocking revelation, leaving the hosts scrambling to defend themselves.
Democrats in the media are now unloading all their nasty attacks on rising Trump White House star and new press secretary, Karoline Leavitt. Watch this.
Today, we're diving into exactly what happened, why Karoline Leavitt's expose has everyone talking, and what it means for the future of The View. If you've been wondering what sparked this meltdown, you're in the right place. The drama is unfolding, and it's all thanks to Leavitt shaking up the political landscape.
These women are completely out of touch with reality. And you're right, ABC should wake up.
The View is no stranger to controversy, but this time, they may have met their match. When Karoline Leavitt took center stage as Trump's press secretary, the tension skyrocketed. Democrats wasted no time launching their attacks, setting the stage for an explosive showdown.
She's probably been put in there because, according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
But their smear campaign didn't just fail. It completely backfired. What started as petty jealousy has left their reputations in shambles. Thanks to Karoline's no-holds-barred approach, the hosts of The View are now scrambling to clean up their own mess, and the fallout is nothing short of spectacular. Take Joy Behar, for example, a self-proclaimed feminist who constantly preaches about empowering women. Yet she just crossed a line that's impossible to ignore. Instead of recognizing Karoline's accomplishments, she reduced her success to nothing more than her looks. The hypocrisy is glaring. How can someone claim to champion women's rights while tearing down a young, successful woman in the same breath? Well, Karoline isn't one to back down. She's in a league of her own and didn't hesitate for a second to call out these so-called woke cronies.
These women are completely out of touch with reality. And you're right, ABC should wake up.
But wait a minute. If Karoline is a 10, where does that leave Joy Behar? Well, leave it to Greg Gutfeld from Fox News to deliver the punchline in his signature style. He didn't hold back, throwing some major shade at Joy that had everyone talking. And let's just say, his commentary didn't do her any favors. Honestly, the internet hasn't stopped laughing since.
Joy Behar calls her a 10. I mean, how dare she objectify a woman with a sexist rating system, but it's such a typical thing from a 1.5.
But Karoline didn't just stop at Joy Behar. She had some sharp words for the Democratic propaganda machine, too. She made it crystal clear. They have two choices: ride the Trump wave or be forgotten. Because once Trump is done with them, there won't be any scandals or media-driven distractions to keep them in the spotlight. Without their usual narrative-spinning machine, their so-called relevance is running on borrowed time.
The Democrats can either get on board or they can prepare to lose another election just like they did on November 5th.
And judging by the stunned silence on The View, they felt every bit of that reality check. It was crystal clear to anyone paying attention. The panel's jealousy was on full display as someone younger, sharper, and actually deserving of the spotlight completely outshined them, especially after Joy Behar's crude remarks. Then came Whoopi Goldberg, swooping in to spin yet another narrative that left Americans shaking their heads. She went full mother hen mode, attempting to scold Karoline for what she called a lack of tolerance for weakness.
Because she said something yesterday that really pissed me off. And that was, she said, there will be no wokeness here. Let me explain something to you. Because without that wokeness, you might not have that job.
Whoopi wasn't offering wisdom. She was scrambling to control the damage, but Karoline wasn't having any of it, as seen in a now viral clip. Whoopi tried to blur the lines between civil rights and wokeness, acting as if they were one and the same, but Karoline saw right through it. She called out Whoopi's flawed logic with brutal precision, making it painfully clear that Whoopi either doesn't know the difference or is deliberately misleading her audience. And judging by Whoopi's reaction, she definitely felt that burn.
Women were not invited to that table. Women were not invited to many tables in this nation. The reason we fought and busted our behinds to make sure that you didn't have to worry about this. And now to hear you talk about it and to hear anybody talk about the wokeness was put in place for a reason.
If Whoopi is such a fierce supporter of women's rights, then why didn't she call out Joy Behar for reducing Karoline's success to nothing more than her looks? Maybe because her so-called moral compass only points left, rather than holding her co-host accountable. Instead, Whoopi seized the opportunity to attack Karoline, right after the 27-year-old used her first White House press conference to call out the legacy media for losing the trust of everyday Americans. And, like clockwork, Whoopi conveniently pulled the race card, shifting the conversation to identity politics instead of addressing the real issue. Classic deflection.
Because black people couldn't get into colleges. Because women could not get into the colleges they wanted to go to. This is all women.
Whoopi didn't stop there. She went full condescension mode, claiming Karoline doesn't even understand what wokeness means. According to Whoopi, the only reason Karoline criticized it was because she thinks it's a terrible thing to be. Whoopi went on to say, "It's not a terrible thing to be. That's why we fought. That's what we're fighting for. So that you could stand at that podium, so that Karine Jean-Pierre could stand at that podium, so women of all colors and backgrounds, no matter where they came from or what they believe, had the opportunity to bust down that door." But let's be honest, Karoline knows exactly what wokeness is, and that's why she called it out. Whoopi's attempt to gaslight the audience into believing Karoline was just throwing around buzzwords completely backfired. And if the hypocrisy wasn't already sky high, Karoline took The View to task over their latest outrageous claim, trying to pin an assassination attempt on Elon Musk. In a fiery takedown, she exposed the irony of the hosts constantly demanding accountability while recklessly spreading baseless accusations.
How ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists, but they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years.
She reminded them that just a few years ago, the media was singing a completely different tune. But now, in their desperate attempt to control the narrative, they'll twist anything to fit their agenda. And let's just say, Karoline wasn't about to let them get away with it.
They likened President Trump to Hitler. They have mocked him. They have shamed him. They have lied about him consistently on their show. And it was a joy to watch them on November the 6th when they realized that tens of millions of Americans do not listen to the lies that they have spewed.
For years, The View and other legacy media outlets have operated without restraint, pushing whatever narrative suited them, controlling the conversation, silencing opposition, and shaping public opinion with little to no consequences. But thanks to Karoline's bold stance, the era of unchecked propaganda is coming to an end. With her push for accountability, these outlets are finally being forced to answer for their reporting.
Young, but she's wise beyond her years, and she has access to the president, which is something someone didn't have.
And let's be real, that's their worst nightmare. Without the ability to spin the truth freely, their entire playbook starts falling apart. Karoline Leavitt just flipped the script on legacy media, and The View is absolutely losing it. She announced a game-changing shakeup in the White House press pool, introducing a new media section designed to hold traditional outlets accountable for years of biased reporting and outright misinformation about President Trump. We will call you out when we feel your reporting is wrong or when misinformation is spread about this White House, Leavitt declared. For decades, the Associated Press and the White House Correspondents Association controlled the room, dictating who got to ask questions and what narratives were pushed. But not anymore. Karoline made it crystal clear that these legacy media outlets won't be running the show unchecked. Instead, 2 front-row seats, once reserved for White House staff, will now go to new media voices who actually challenge the establishment. And if that wasn't enough to send The View into a meltdown, she also restored press passes for 440 journalists who were wrongfully revoked under Biden's administration.
President doesn't surround himself by anybody smart. And Joy Behar and those guys, of course this is going to happen. This is why conservative women just have to move on, do their thing, and not worry about the criticism from folks like that.
And we are expecting the media to be hostile.
While many praised this push for transparency, the View panel had a very different reaction, because let's be honest, the last thing they want is a press corps that actually challenges their narrative. Starting today, this seat in the front of the room, which is usually occupied by the press secretary's staff, will be called the new media seat, Karoline announced. My team will review applications and grant credentials to new media applicants who meet our criteria and pass U.S. Secret Service requirements to enter the White House complex. And right on cue, the View panel completely lost it. Sunny Hostin scoffed at the idea of new media reporters being qualified to attend briefings, acting as if only the legacy media elites deserved a seat at the table. Then Whoopi chimed in with her usual holier-than-thou attitude, warning that under the new administration, people would just spout stuff. I don't always like the way they do it, but we have to have ourselves together. We can't just say stuff. In spite of what they tell you, we can't just spout stuff. So I want that for everybody. Oh, the irony. Because for years, mainstream media, including The View, has done exactly that, pushing half-truths, twisting narratives, and spouting whatever fits their agenda. But now that Karoline Leavitt is actually holding them accountable, suddenly Whoopi wants to talk about standards? Give me a break.
She was conflating two ideas. This word wokeness didn't look like she really understood what it meant, or certainly the way Karoline Leavitt meant it when she made that statement, and she was conflating it with civil rights and how women didn't have the right to vote and own property and all of that. That has nothing to do with wokeness, which is, of course, about putting people in there because of their immutable characteristics rather than the merit that they do.
At the end of the day, this isn't about journalism or ethics. It's about control. The hosts of The View thrive on dictating public opinion, but with millions of Americans turning away from traditional media in favor of alternative sources, they're panicking. For the first time in years, they're losing their grip on the narrative, and they can't stand it. Karoline Leavitt, the 27-year-old history-making press secretary, has been calling out the media's credibility crisis, making it clear that the public no longer trusts legacy outlets. We know for a fact that many mainstream media outlets have pushed false narratives about this president and his family, she stated. We will call you out when your reporting is wrong or when misinformation is spread about this White House. And now, The View is feeling the heat. For years, they've had the luxury of pushing their narratives without any real pushback, spreading misinformation, smearing political opponents, and gaslighting their audience. But those days are over. Karoline isn't backing down, and she just put the entire legacy media on notice. Let's not forget who she replaced. Karine Jean-Pierre, who made her identity the focal point of her tenure rather than her performance. But leadership isn't about checking diversity boxes. It's about holding power accountable and speaking for the American people. Even Jen Psaki, Jean-Pierre's predecessor, wasn't impressed with the repetitive talking points, calling it diminishing. Yet, The View continues playing the identity card, hoping no one notices the hollowness of their arguments. But Karoline isn't falling for their games. She's here to do the job and do it well. Desperate to discredit her, The View attempted a classic gotcha moment, cornering her with a loaded question about illegal immigration. They thought she'd stumble. They thought they had her. Spoiler alert, she didn't.
3,500 arrests ICE has made so far since President Trump came back into office. Can you just tell us the numbers? How many have a criminal record versus those who are just in the country?
All of them, because they illegally broke our nation's laws.
They wanted her to admit that Trump's policies were somehow unfair to illegal immigrants. But Karoline flipped the script. She reminded them that in Trump's America, law-abiding citizens come first, not those who break the law. And just like that, their entire argument crumbled. But instead of admitting defeat, they doubled down, scrambling to spin the narrative with even more desperate attempts.
As far as this administration goes, I know the last administration didn't see it that way, so it's a big culture shift in our nation to view someone who breaks our immigration laws as a criminal, but that's exactly what they are here.
They love to pretend they care about justice. But let's be honest. This wasn't about standing up for immigrants. It was just another attempt to push their tired left-wing narrative and trap someone who was far too sharp to take the bait. And now, as they scramble to regain control, Karoline is sitting back and enjoying every second of it.
And I loved it. You know why? Because I work for a president who is getting things done, who is delivering on the promises he made to the American people.
She knows exactly what she's doing, and she's not just holding her ground, she's relishing every moment as these so-called media elites scramble to keep up. Because here's the truth. Karoline isn't just taking on The View. She's challenging the entire legacy media machine, and she's doing it with confidence and a smile. She's not just exposing The View. She's tearing apart their entire playbook.
There is so much good news, so much winning out of the Trump White House right now that the mainstream legacy media can't keep up with it.
Karoline knows exactly how the game is played, and she's making sure the world sees it too. For years, legacy media has controlled the narrative, twisting facts to fit their agenda, but now she's shutting it down in real time. And the best part? The harder they push back, the more they prove her point. In a final blow, Karoline delivered the ultimate truth bomb. The View has spent so much time catering to the left that they've completely lost their way.
And the Democrats are in complete disarray because they have become a globalist party who like to spend taxpayer dollars on useless priorities just to cater to the left's demands here at home.
For years. The View has been nothing more than a mouthpiece for the Democratic agenda, blindly parroting whatever narrative they were given. But now, with Karoline holding the media accountable, they're completely lost. After spending so long pushing the left's talking points, they have no idea how to handle real opposition, and it shows. Meanwhile, Karoline is enjoying every moment of watching them unravel. In the end, The View has been fully exposed, their hypocrisy, their bias, and their desperate grip on relevance. Karoline Leavitt didn't just call them out. She made them confront their own downfall in real time.
Vast majority of Americans want people in Washington to be good stewards of their tax dollars, don't agree with these radical priorities of the left. And so that's why the president is going to continue to do this. The Democrats can either get on board or they can prepare to lose another election.
But this is just the beginning. As the media landscape shifts, legacy outlets like The View are desperately trying to maintain control and failing spectacularly. So the real question is, how much longer can they keep up this charade? Are we witnessing the downfall of mainstream media dominance, or will they find a way to claw their way back into power? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you want more hard-hitting breakdowns like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because trust me, this fight is far from over.